Good morning, everybody. This is Tao of the Day. I am super excited for today. I listened to, or for some reason, the lyrics of the Battle Hymn of the Republic went through my head today. And it might be something that I come here on wisdom and start talking about just because I want to break the song down a little bit, just as I do with the Tao of the Day. It's an important aspect to understanding things is to break things down line by line. Sometimes when we get in when we get into this space of just listening to things, like whether it's poetry or people talking, we don't really process what's being said and why it's being said. And that happens in the Tao a lot because the Tao can be deep, and when it puts words together in ways that we've never heard before, we could very easily just drop off and not pay attention to actually what's being said. So it's a really important thing to be able to go through things line by line, which is why I do that here. It's such a good exercise. It's a good exercise to be able to step into a text, whether it's a song. I mean, um I broke apart Come On Up to the House, I believe. um a Tom Waits song, Come On Up to the House, and breaking down text or breaking down um any sort of written thing into its components can help us piece it together. And that's what the Tao of the Day is here for. So the Tao Te Ching is an ancient text, and being an ancient text, it can be very cryptic. And we use the Stephen Mitchell uh, translation done from the 80s. I believe it was maybe 88 or 89. And we look at this ancient text that was written in 600 BC. And I invite you up to pick a number between 1 and 81, and I will read your Tao for the day, and then we will go through it line by line. Going through things line by line, as I was saying, is a beautiful way of breaking down these barriers of understanding, especially when it comes to ancient texts or songs or poetry. Understanding how one line leads into the next, and trying to make the connections. We could hear something, and just in hearing it doesn't necessarily mean that we understand it. Even though we could, oh, wow, that's deep. As soon as we say that's deep, we can probably assume that there was something we didn't understand. Because how deep do things really get? So if you have a number between 1 and 81 and want to share with me this morning on the Tao Te Ching and the Tao of the Day, I would be happy to host you up here. So you can just come up, pick a number, and then I'll read your Tao for the day, and then we'll talk about it. We'll go through it, and we'll see how it relates to your life right now. Maybe we'll see how it relates to my life and how it relates to understanding the world. So the Tao Te Ching translates, or I translate it, to the canon of reason. This is the root of reason. This is all you need to live a reasonable life. And if that is the case, and if you are present within the Tao and present with your Tao for today, you may be able to walk away with something to meditate on as you move forward. So if you have a number between 1 and 81 and just have about 15 minutes to walk through your Tao for today, why don't you join me and let me know your number, and we'll go through that Tao. Many of you may not know what the Tao is, but if you're joining me for the first time, come on up and let's learn a little bit together. In the meantime, I'm, glancing around at all these numbers. They're all so delicious, right? They got 81 numbers to choose from, and every one of them is brilliant. And, yesterday was 2222. I'm going to pick 23. Um, that's my number for today. And so what we have here says, express yourself completely, then keep quiet. Be like the forces of nature. When it blows, there is only wind. When it rains, there is only rain. When the clouds pass, the sun shines through. If you open yourself to the Tao, you are at one with the Tao, and you can embody it completely. If you open yourself to insight, you are at one with insight and you can use it completely. If you open yourself to loss, you are at one with loss and you can accept it completely. Open yourself to the Tao, then trust your natural responses, and everything will fall into place. So, what I'm seeing here is this natural, right? There is this reference of the natural. When you open yourself to the Tao, you're at one with it. When you open yourself to insight, you're at one with insight. When you open yourself to loss, you're at one with it. Being at one with it seems to be this thing that we're talking is the natural response. The natural response is to be at one with things. Why? Because the natural response expresses that we are connected, right? We know that we're connected deeply. So we're going to go back and we're going to start looking at this line by line. If you have a number between 1 and 81 you'd like to share and you want to read with me, I would be happy to host you here. So express yourself completely, then keep quiet. This is a beautiful start to anything, right? Like how many of us have gotten into that place of we express ourselves and then we go back and say, well, that's not what I meant when someone starts to respond. We express ourselves and then we want to talk over the response of someone else. Well, here's the thing, express yourself completely and then keep quiet. Like, don't express yourself partially and then not be able to keep quiet, right? Like, express yourself completely. And this is where it goes. And this has always been a hard verse for me, and maybe we'll try and get through it a little bit more today. We'll try and chip away at it again. Be like the forces of nature. When it blows, there is only wind. When it rains, there is only rain. When the clouds pass, the sun shines through. And I'm intrigued by that because that's not the case, is it? Like, when it blows, there's not only wind. And when there's rain, there's not only rain. It's not like the rain falls straight down, right? Like the rain falls at an angle because it's being carried by the wind. Now I'm always intrigued by this one because that's something that I don't agree with. I don't agree that that happens. But be like the forces of nature. Does that mean when it blows there is only wind? Does that mean that the wind, although yes, there's only wind, the rain is being carried by the wind, but when it blows there is only wind? Is that just the thing that you have to care for? When it rains there is only rain. Does that mean that, does that mean that when there is both wind and rain, the one that is most powerful gets your attention? Express yourself completely, then keep quiet. Be like the forces of nature. Do one and do only that thing. Now, this whole blows and rain, that really kind of throws me off. So if you have any thoughts on that, definitely join me. But um, I do get this, when the clouds pass, the sun shines through. Because that is the only thing that is in between you and the sky. The That's the only thing in the sky that's going to block out the sun. Well, I suppose unless it's a an eclipse, and that wouldn't happen, I suppose. But this express yourself completely, then keep quiet. And as I go through each of these other lines, I really can't relate those always. I can't always relate those back, and that's something that I keep chipping away at, and I'm not getting any closer today. It looks like. When it blows, there is only wind. When it rains, there is only rain. Be like the forces of nature. Express yourself completely, then keep quiet. Be like the forces of nature. What if we stop there? What if we stop and I don't look at when it blows, there is only wind. When it rains, there is only rain. When the clouds pass through, the sun shines through. When the clouds pass, the sun shines through. And the reason that I suspect that I might be able to get rid of those, because if that is a good translation, that definitely has to be taken into account. The fact that the translation might be bad. Um, and speaking of, let me open up a different translation. Let me open up the Jane English translation, and see if we can get anywhere with that. Um, okay, so I'm going to find this Jane English version, and we're going to go to, um, oh, what did I say? 23. We're going to go to 23 of the Jane English version. We're going to look at this translation as well because, it very well may just be a different translation. So Jane English says, to talk little is natural. High winds do not last all morning. Heavy rain does not last all night. Why is this? Heaven and earth. If heaven and earth cannot make things eternal, how is it possible for man? Whoa, very different, right? Very different translations here. Um, so okay, hold on now. This is really interesting. Um, all right, express yourself completely, then keep quiet. Again, a great translation um for us. Well, I don't know if it's a great translation as much as it is great to read that. It is great to read this line. Express yourself completely, then keep quiet, because that relates directly to going back and like saying, oh no, this is what I mean, this is what I mean, and constantly changing, like a child changing the rules of a game, right? Like you don't stand by anything. But here in the Jane English translation, we see it saying, to talk little is natural. High winds do not last all morning, heavy rain does not last all day. Why is this? Heaven and earth. If heaven and earth cannot make things eternal, how is it possible for man? So Jane English is taking this translation and saying, like, what Jane English is focused on is heaven and earth. This verse is saying that heaven and earth neither can make things last forever. So nothing is permanent. Nothing is 100% correct. Things have to change, things have to shift. And because things have to shift, high winds, there's a time for them. Rain, there is a time for it. Why is this? Because heaven and earth. And it's interesting because she relates this, she writes this out as saying heaven and earth, exclamation point. She says, so the question is, why is this? And then the answer is heaven and earth. Like, obviously, heaven and earth. And if heaven and earth can't make things eternal, how is it possible? Does that reference that the winds are heavenly and the rains are earthly, or what is this? What is she trying to get at with this translation? To talk little is natural. To talk little is natural. The winds are a way of talking. The rain is a way of talking. Why is this? Heaven and earth. If heaven and earth can't make things eternal, how is it possible for man? And I do enjoy that. I do enjoy that line. If heaven and earth can't make things eternal, how is it possible for man? And that is like, so that opens up our concept of what talk means, right? To talk little is natural. And this is the action of men, right? This is the action of people, is to talk. And no matter what you're talking, like, if we go back and relate back to the version, to the Stephen Mitchell version, express yourself completely, then keep quiet. This relates to the talk little is natural. And if heaven and earth can't make things eternal, how is it possible for you to do that? So just present yourself. And if you don't present your entire case, well, that's okay. Catherine's joining me. I'm going to have to come back to 23 because this is a beast. I've dealt with it with Catherine before. Hey, Catherine, how are you doing?
I'm good. We're hopefully getting our heater fixed today.
Oh, is it cold down there in Tennessee.
We're expecting an ice storm.
Oh no, those things, down in those areas, like those things can be dangerous
Yeah, hopefully.
because once the ice is on everything, everything that hasn't broken off starts to break off.
Oh yeah, I mean, I lived through one where I didn't have power for 10 days after it.
Oh man.
But it's hopefully not going to get too bad where we are, but unfortunately west of us may get hit pretty hard, but cross your fingers.
Yeah. Yeah, I will. I'll cross we got like a foot of snow yesterday. So,
Wow. We
yeah.
sent it to you from rain. It was rain here. So
Yeah,
it was my gift to you.
it was yeah. Well, you kept me busy yesterday, that gift. Unwrapping that gift was a chore.
Well, there you go. See, nothing's out. It
Thank
can't.
you. I thank you.
You ready?
I am
18.
18. Oh, and off we go.
I
Oh,
know.
this one's a little short, but I do have the Jane English version open as well, so maybe we can look at that one.
Do you have the Winnie the Pooh version?
We've talked about this.
I know, but I'll
when the
work with you.
when the great Tao is forgotten. Oh, I think we've done this one, and I think it would be nice to do it again. When the great Tao is forgotten, goodness and piety appear. When the body's intelligence declines, cleverness and knowledge step forth. When there is no peace in the family, filial piety begins. When the country falls into chaos, patriotism is born.
Ooh.
This is timely as we
No
step
kidding.
into
So we
February
sing,
and
so we sing, Oh, Canada.
absolutely. Like, yes, there's some things going on up there up north, isn't there?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's been plotted for, I think, for a very long time, which I like.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They've been shoveling a lot of snow too, by the way, supporting you.
Yes, there's a lot of people like there's snow. There is some snow.
Yeah, but they're
But
up there.
but it's not like I look at this like this wasn't an excessive snow, really. Like
No,
I don't think it was excessive for what like we haven't had a lot of snow yet this year, and so this is just balancing things out.
only the beginning. All right, let's get into it.
All right. So when the great Tao is forgotten, goodness and piety appear.
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like we're coming at this from a different angle this time.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is, but it feels like that shift of everything really seems to be feeling, and it's when when the Tao is forgotten, and the Tao is so much about just it's being in line with the universe, isn't it? Being one with
Yeah.
the universe.
Well, see, yeah, that's where I think of
Earth.
so the great Tao, right? When the
Yeah,
great Tao is forgotten, and the great Tao is you, right? Like it,
yeah.
it
It's
is it is
universe.
the universe. It
Connection to
is.
all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
When
and
that
so
great connection is forgotten, and when
right.
we, goodness and piety appear. And ultimately that the great Tao being forgotten means you don't trust. You don't trust that
Yeah,
like you are connected to everything. You don't trust, you forgot the fact that you are one with everything.
just sleepwalking,
That's
doing
right. Yeah.
have to do just to survive, doing just being bombarded by the world around you and not taking that breath away.
Right. Not realizing that you're being held,
Yeah.
not realizing that that you are God on the planet. Like that you have the power to like be here. Like like I always look at it like fear, right? Like if you
Hmm.
have fear, you have forgotten something. One
Yeah.
time, a great friend of mine who was on here for a time, Andy Scarantino, she told me, what are you pretending to not know?
Yeah.
And what a great line that is. And I know she got it from some other coach or whatever, but like she's the one that presented it to me. And it was this idea of like, what are you forgetting? What are you pretending to not know? And I think that this line kind of addresses that. Like when the great Tao is forgotten, like you've pretended to not know that you're connected long enough.
Yeah.
And when that's forgotten, these things come up. These things that we feel are moral things, right? Goodness and piety, like being I don't know, like being good, being and piety kind of relates to religion, but it's like just respecting things that
Yes,
are not you, like
being
putting over
thoughtful.
esteeming.
Yeah, and being thoughtful of not even yourself, being kind and thoughtful to yourself, but being kind and thoughtful to your community, being kind and thoughtful to the surroundings around you. Like being, I sometimes aware feels too alert to me, but being at peace and noticing yourself and everything and everyone around you for who they are and what they are, not creating some story in your own head that's directed at yourself.
Yes, and I want to make sure that we're on the same page here, so I'm going to express it in this way. It might be that just to expose any
How
on
do
what's
it?
yeah. So when the great Tao is forgotten, when that experience that you're talking about, that
Mm-hmm.
faith in this moment is forgotten, we make rules around what it means to be good. We make rules around what it means to be pious.
Yep.
And those things start to appear when we forget that those things, like, it doesn't have to look that way. It
Yep.
doesn't have to look the way we want it to in order for it to be that. This is where, like, although love can sometimes look tough, tough love is not something we want to write down.
Yeah.
We don't want to tell people, well, in order to love someone, you have to be tough.
Right.
No, tough can look, or love can look tough when we remember that we are part of the Tao, when we remember that we're part of
Mm.
everything. But once you write down what tough looks like and you start sending your children to prison because they are not, they are not what you think they should be,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
not love.
No. Yeah. I think this is such an interesting moment right now because it is so much about the constraints that we put in on behavior of what rules look like,
Right,
what a over structured by someone who is leading us to forget the Tao.
right. And that's where this next line comes in, leading us to forget our body's intelligence.
Yep,
When the body's intelligence declines, cleverness and knowledge step forth. And this brings up, like he's saying cleverness here, but like we know you love that word crafty,
I do. I do. I think
right? When the body's intelligence declines, like craftiness and knowledge, right? Cleverness and knowledge seem to like come together into what could be defined as crafty. Like craftiness steps forth.
mm-hmm.
Like when you aren't sure of like the body's intelligence, and this the body's intelligence. I mean, can we call that intuition?
Call that intuition. You can call that its natural immune system. I'm like just so many.
Right.
I mean, we both work with energy healing and that that is so much connecting with the body's intelligence.
Yeah. And the body's like when the body's intelligence declines, cleverness and knowledge step forth. So in cleverness, what do we have? We have medicine, we have vaccines, we have all of these great things, that are clever and are knowledge and an education system and a economic system and all of these, an education system. I don't know if I said that, but all of those things are created because we have we have
Forgot.
forgotten that every body and everything is connected to the Tao.
Mm-hmm.
And then once
You
our
need
body's intelligence declines, go on.
everything that you need is within you.
Yes. And you will be guided to the right place. But
Right.
when the body's intelligence declines, and we can look at this as like as soon as you're born, like you're in touch with the Tao and it just starts to get forgotten right away. And then by the time you're in school, you start to not rely, you rely less and less, increasingly less on your body's intelligence. And so you start to rely on cleverness and knowledge, and you go to school and you start to learn all these things
I mean,
because
even about, the body intelligence of even just intuition, the physical reaction you get to things, or the way people describe your gut feeling. They feel it physically within them. And
Right.
that body intelligence of giving you like a hello. There's so many elements to it. It's just not just, what we consider your health. So it's
Right.
so much. And, it's about getting crafty of, even when we start thinking too much about things, we get too emotional about things, and that's when you can't hear or feel your intuition. That's when we
Right.
start questioning the ability to heal ourselves, like all these different things, because we begin to get, what is it? Crafty.
That's right. And like I was on the line with Dr. Rao yesterday, and we were talking, and the term conflict resolution came up, and it just rang out to me, this internal conflict resolution, this personal conflict resolution that we have with ourselves, right? Like that is what we have to stop being in conflict with ourselves around trusting our intelligence, our body's intelligence, and trusting the Tao, and trusting the places that we're being, led to go.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
So we then come into this line: when there is no peace in the family, filial piety begins. And that's, like that is that the family could be seen as your town, could be seen as your family, could be seen as your body, could be seen as all of these different like aspects. But family could be anything. And filial piety is this idea of just recognizing someone's place in the family and saying, okay, well, you're my father, so I'm going to listen to you rather than listen to my body, rather than listen to myself. I'm going to, stick with the filial piety, whether that's my relationship or whether that's my actual family or whatnot.
Mm-hmm. And and the authority figure, and whether that authority figure is your intellect, as well, like whatever you deem to be the authority figure,
Right.
yeah, within your.
And that's really interesting as we get to this, right? Because if your body's intelligence declines, that could lead to no peace in the family,
Mhm.
because now you're being told what to do. You are, like, or you are the father figure, and you want your child to be a certain way. And so now peace is broken.
Yeah,
And so
of
go
that,
on.
like, of when people are struggling with their business, so they decide to follow the guru system of these certain steps that were designed for them, and
Mm-hmm.
so they beat themselves up because the authority within themselves say, I need to follow what somebody else says. I'm not doing it right. I'm not doing it right, and beat themselves up. I mean, this can be for so many different examples.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the final,
Dun,
when
dun.
the country falls into chaos, patriotism is born. And patriotism is definitely having forgotten you as an individual. Now you are behind a huge group. Now you are, that's how I see this, is like now you are like, what patriotism is rules, is understanding. I see it that way. And I know you have a different take on this because of your connection to Canada, and your mom's attachment to that.
Yeah, well, not just to Canada. I just have a totally different take of patriotism. Just I come from a very patriotic family who've, all served in the military and all of that as well. But very um, patriotic in the sense of it's not about the rules or the structure, but more about the ability to come together and all agree upon the freedoms that we are allowed to have by the universe, not by a government necessarily. So, patriotism is people coming together with a belief of how we all live in this place. What does that look like, and how do we come together? And so, if you're a patriot of your country, you believe in that space being better for everyone. So you all come together and.
I love that. And Helen Levine had popped up. If you're still out there, please, if you're interested in coming up, please come up. But I'm going to read, and Catherine, hang out for a second, because I'm going to read a different version of this 18, and and maybe we can come to this one anytime we read 18, because I know, like, I look at patriotism as being about the country, and you look at patriotism as being about the people, and maybe those don't have differentiation. But I want to read this because it doesn't talk about patriotism. So, when the great Tao is forgotten, kindness and morality arise. When wisdom and intelligence are born, the great pretense begins. And that's a really great way of, right? When wisdom and intelligence are born, the great pretense begins. What a great way of writing it, right? This is the Jane English version. Because as soon as you have wisdom and intelligence, you start to have these pretenses, right? Like, you start to pretend to be these things. So then it goes into this last section, which is when there is no peace within the family, filial piety and devotion arise. And then, when the country is confused and in chaos, loyal ministers appear. So that's interesting, right? Like, now it's like, when a country is confused and in chaos, loyal ministers appear. And I see that as being like, this place to, like, what is loyal, right? Like, all of these ideas and stuff. So that's an interesting, different way of kind of looking at it. So yeah, thought I would just read the Jane English version just to get another take on it. And there's so many versions we can read. I just had Jane English open because I was looking at this 23. This 23, as we were talking about earlier, like, I was always kind of stuck on this place of, when it blows, it only blows. And I know, Catherine, you and I talked about that at some point. Um, but this Jane English version definitely speaks of it a little differently, which says, to talk little is natural. High winds do not last all morning. Heavy rains do not last all day. Why is that? Why is that? Questions, why don't they last all day? Why don't they blow all the time? Why don't the winds last all morning? Because of heaven and earth. If heaven and earth can't make things eternal, how is it possible for man? So then we won't make things eternal. So it is natural to stop talking. It is natural to be still. Maybe that's all it is. Maybe it's like, just like, be still. But then, when we pair it with the Stephen Mitchell, we say, express yourself completely and then keep quiet. And when it rains, maybe that's what it is. Express yourself completely. When it rains, just rain. When it blows, just blow. Maybe that's where it stands, right? This idea that when it's really raining, it's really raining. It's not going to last forever, but it does it. And when it's done, it's done. And it's done. I remember being in the mountains of Sicily at some point. I don't know, mountains. I think they were very high hills if they weren't mountains. And it blew. And man, it was incessant. It would just be blowing all the time. I would just sit on that, and, like, it was impressive, because, like, where I'm from, it doesn't just I'm in the Windy City. I'm in Chicago. Like, it blows a lot, yes, but it's like, big gusts, dead. Big gusts, it's slow, but this idea that wind can move, like, it's kind of like being in a car, like, if you're in a car and that wind is hitting your hand, like, at 50 miles an hour, being on this veranda, being on this in this place where it was just blowing like mad, like, all, like, for the entire day, like, it lasted for a long time. Like, that is unnatural. And it felt unnatural. It just felt like exhausting. So this idea of express yourself completely, then keep quiet. Blow, man. But then, like, to last all the time. And I'm sure, at some point, that I wasn't on the edge of that veranda, overlooking the mountainside, like, it stopped blowing. But it sure felt like it was never going to stop. And it definitely felt unnatural, because of what I had experienced. But that is nature, right? Blow and just blow and express yourself completely and then keep quiet. So it wasn't until it was done expressing itself that it could keep quiet. And once it kept quiet, it just went away, right? The clouds, they will express themselves and then the sun will shine through. And then that's it. Like you will have its expression. So express yourself completely, then keep quiet. I'm going to go back over to the Jane English and we're going to continue reading this one. He who follows the Tao is at one with the Tao. He who is virtuous experiences virtue. He who loses the way is lost. When you are at one with the Tao welcomes you. When you are at one with virtue, virtue is always there. When you are at one with loss, the loss is experienced with willingly. Well, that's interesting. So she expresses this a little differently than Stephen Mitchell. She lays out these experiences, um, these three different experiences, right? Experiencing virtue, being lost, and being at one with the Tao, and then all of those she wraps up in this space of when you are at one with the Tao welcomes you, so that you can. So that relates back to he who follows the Tao is at one with it. Why? Because when you are at one with the Tao welcomes you. All you have to do is follow that, and you can be at one and welcomed in. He who is virtuous experiences virtue. When you are at one with virtue, the virtue is always there. And that's a harder one to kind of replicate. He who is virtuous experiences virtue. When you are at one with virtue, the virtue is always there. Maybe it's my understanding of virtue. I'm going to look at the Stephen Mitchell. If you open yourself to the Tao, you are at one with the Tao, and you can embody it completely. If you are at one, if you open yourself to insight, you are at one with insight, and you can use it completely. That relates definitely back to everything that Catherine and I talk about in terms of intuition. Nancy is here. Wonderful. Yeah, so we'll finish off 23 after we talk to Nancy, but that's a nice one. Nancy, how you doing? Are you here with me? Uh-oh, guest left. That's okay. If you open yourself to loss, you are at one with loss, and you can accept it completely. Open yourself to loss, you are at one with loss and can accept it completely. How many things do we not want to open ourselves up to losing, right? Like we can lose so much. So I'm just kind of contemplating this. If you guys have a number between 1 and 81 that you'd like to share, definitely pop up as I wrap this one up. This is an interesting one. I like to just contemplate. I'm just kind of sitting quietly with this one. Nancy's back. Because I don't really know what to say about some of these things. Nancy, how you doing? Yeah.
I was there, but the app didn't want
No.
me there.
Yeah, I didn't. I didn't. Either way, we got you here now. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. Something came to me, and I'm going to give you the number that popped up yesterday because I'd really like to talk about it. But something came to me when you were talking about, can you read the wind thing again real quick?
When the wind blows, it only blows. I'm not reading it. I'm reciting.
Okay.
Let me see. Yeah, let me read it now. When it blows, there is only wind. When it rains, there is only rain.
Okay, something that I learned when I walked onto the playing field of my enabling and recovery sessions
Yeah.
is that something she always said to me, was life's in session. It is what it is. In this moment, you can't change anything. Life is in session. And that's what I kept hearing when you're saying the wind is the wind and, and all that. It's just,
Yeah.
it is what it is. Instead of analyzing, I know people who go, God, I hate the wind. And I'm like, but it's nature. I hate the rain, but I just want it to be summer. Oh, Lord. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lack of appreciation. To me, what I saw was Life was in Session was one of the hardest things for me to grab onto because I wasn't trained that way.
Hmm.
I'm supposed to figure it out. And that's what kept popping into my head was that statement was life's in session. It is what it is, except what is now. And I thought,
I really love that because what this is following is
yeah,
this line: express yourself completely, then keep quiet. This
exactly.
idea that you stand up, present what you have to present, and then sit your ass down is such a beautiful way of doing that. And I want to express this. I still don't have I'm still not comfortable with when it blows, there is only wind, when it rains, there is only rain. I still don't see what you're seeing there, but I do like how you're referencing that and how that references this. So I know there's a connection there, and I'm sure that as I contemplate this later on
Right.
today, it's something that I
And
need to.
just so you know, Martin John, imagine how lovingly powerful it's going to sit inside of you once you see it for you. Oh,
Right. And that's
it's going to be
and that's
beautiful.
why I love expressing the fact that, what, this one has confused me for some time, and although I
Yes.
accept it, I don't understand it, and it's okay not to understand it, and I can hear it through you, and I can say, well, that's beautiful because it works, but I
Yes.
still don't see it working. And
Okay,
so
then I got to tell you, that's beautiful you say that to me because it was really kind of put in my face and I didn't see it, but they didn't hear every time I expressed what you just said. It was kind of like, well, it is what it is. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't see it. I don't
right.
feel it. And
Yeah.
so that's beautiful. So thank you just for that simple little thing right there. I mean, that's
Yeah.
simply powerful. I love it.
Oh, beautiful.
Because it's honoring us, but it's real and you're going to get it, just not right this moment. That's all.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm not afraid that I'm not going to get it. I just know that, like, well, this is where I am right now, and
Right.
it's okay. It's so okay to not know.
And you know what's so funny is that's exactly what it applies to. Life's in session, and it is what it is. You just did it right
That's
there.
right. Yeah. And now, and I don't have to know why it's written this way. And like, I opened up a different translation, and it still
Right,
wasn't right. Like, and I'm like, well, like, like, I'll just let that ruminate for a while.
right. And imagine how many nuggets you're getting in the middle of it. I mean, as
That's
you
right.
go along the journey, that's beautiful. But it did. It took me probably over a year or so. So don't. It's like I'm just honoring your space. I think it's awesome. So
Thank you. Thank you.
yay. Can we go over 15, please, again? Because I read it and I went, I know this is powerful, and I simply want to be with a friend while I go through this.
Yeah. So, okay, it is a longer one, so we will read it through fully, and then we'll go through it again.
Yes.
The ancient masters were profound and subtle. Their wisdom was unfathomable. There is no way to describe it. All we can do is describe their appearance. Oh, buddy. There
I
were
know.
careful. They were careful as someone crossing over an iced over stream, alert as a warrior in enemy territory, courteous as a guest, fluid as melting ice, shapeable as a block of wood, receptive as a valley, clear as a glass of water. Do you have the patience to wait till your mud settles and the water is clear? Can you remain unmoving till the right action arises by itself? The master doesn't seek fulfillment, not seeking, not expecting. She is present and can welcome all things. So, as we so just so everybody knows where we're at, that is the piece that we're going to be reading now. We're going to go just right back to the beginning and say the ancient masters were profound and subtle. Their wisdom was unfathomable, and we have to recognize that the ancient masters are not our ancient masters. It's their ancient masters. Our ancient masters are Jesus, Lao Tzu, and the people that we're talking about in this, like 600, 800 BC and stuff like that. The ancient masters they're talking about were even more ancient than them. And so, and now we can also look at them as Lao Tzu and Jesus. But then we have this concept of they were profound and subtle. Their wisdom was unfathomable. when I when I look at when I look at that concept is like, if their wisdom was unfathomable, then why do we try and express it all the time? Why do we try and understand it?
Yeah, and what comes to me is, why are we trying to reinvent the wheel?
Right. And think about the depth of profound and subtle. Is anything profound and subtle in our world today?
Only the Tao.
Right. Like the things, like when we look out at the world and see all the things, so much of that is like, one, shallow and obvious.
Right.
There is
Yeah.
no way to describe it. All we can describe is their appearance. Now we start, what is the world trying to do now in terms of describing the subtlety and the profundity of the ancient masters? Describe their appearance.
And to me, going off of Catherine's, I was like, thanks, Catherine.
Yeah.
Um, is it goes off of that whole, 18 of work, to me, coming back to our own by breaking down the old, the mystical things that people wanted to create, and not going into the most important part, which is what's in within us.
Right. Like
And
the ancient masters were profound and subtle because they were within themselves.
yes.
Their wisdom is unfathomable. There is no way to describe it. All we can describe is their appearance, and their appearance has nothing to do with the depth that they were going.
Well, that's like trying to describe the universe and what it really is.
Right. And the
Yeah.
best thing to do is not describe it at all. Just step back and experience it, or be it.
Right. And that's honestly, that's what it is. And instead of running towards something thinking that we're supposed to, and I say we as me,
Yeah.
it's about stepping back and going, wow, there's a mountain out there. It's really beautiful. And
Right.
that's
And
it.
that's it. That's it.
Hmm.
That
That's it.
that when because the profundity and the subtleness of that, like, your words are subtle, but the experience of that is
Hmm.
profound.
And I went through something the other day, and so one of my friends knows the laws of the universe, and one of the laws she told me that I'm going into is, the law of correspondence. And she said, from within is from without, or something like that. And when I listened to something on it, it's the same energies as this one, because I don't want to say concept. Same energies as this one is, there's nothing truly expressed freely unless we express from what's from within.
Right.
And that is, it's like, what kind of playing field do I want to be on? One that justifies, because that's what I'm going into, or one that is what it is. And it's the second one. It is what it is. And it gives me that sense of peace, because when I think about the outside world, there's tension, and I know why. But when I think about me, as me being accepted as who I am and doesn't matter, that's the shift that I'm going into. It's awesome, because there was a precedence that was put upon me, and it gave me value in the moment to help me survive. And to shift that out has been the weirdest thing in the world, going, what? But it's perfect for me, because I don't want to have that. Does that make sense?
Yes, because you were grasping at the appearance.
And I needed to survive.
Yes,
Exactly.
absolutely,
Exactly.
absolutely. And so now what they were doing, the profound and subtle,
Yes.
was they were careful as someone crossing over an ice over stream. They
Hmm.
were alert as a warrior. They were courteous as a guest. They were fluid as melting ice. They were shapeable as a block of wood. They were receptive as a valley. They were clear as a glass of water. All of those things: alert, courteous, careful, fluid, shapeable, receptive, and clear, embody the ability to express something in a subtle way,
Hmm.
but it be experienced in this profound way. And if you are, like, all of those things work together. Like, you're shapeable,
Absolutely.
which means you can learn. That's humble, right? You are receptive, so that means you're not just trying to give people, you're receiving. You're also courteous, which means that you're going to not overstate yourself. So
Right.
beautiful.
And the word that comes to me, that for me, that encompasses all of what you just shared, all of those words, is compassion. The truth, the realism of what compassion embodies. Because a lot of people are empathetic, and that's when we believe that we can help people. Um, and compassion is, I'm going to let you be where you're at so you can be safe. No matter what you're doing, you can be safe in your skin so that you can find your way. And that was really, that was an interesting shift. But yeah, that was really that when you were saying that, it just kept saying compassion, compassion, compassion.
Yeah.
And it just embodies compassion into one, all those energies into one word, which makes compassion even that much more loving.
Yes. And then we have this kind of like, this is where we get self-reflective. Do you have the patience to wait till your mud settles and the water is clear?
And that's exactly what I went through yesterday when somebody gave me the law of compassion. I mean, the law of correspondence. I listened to something and I went, and I could feel it. And I'm like, all I got to do is be me. And I know what that means. And that's what you just said, that mud settling of doing it because, or doing it, just being me. And
Which,
that's awesome.
yeah, and then that next line, which is, can you remain unmoving
Yes.
till the right action arises by itself, not with you trying to move things along?
Inspired action. Yep.
Right.
That was
The
popping in
master
my head when I
doesn't
was driving.
the master doesn't seek fulfillment, not seeking, not expecting. She is present and can welcome all things.
Yeah. And that one really hit me when I read that yesterday. I went, it's just about me being and learn and allowing not learning, allowing myself to remember me, and allowing myself to love me, and allowing myself to be. And then I'm going to get what I want, because if it's not fun and playful, honestly, my energies, I'm not meant to do it in the first place.
That's right. That's right. It's funny this morning. So back in 2018, I wrote a book entitled "Recover Yourself, Refocus Your Life Now That You're Sober," and
What a great title. Wake
isn't it?
up.
And I wrote it, and it's like it's a full book. It's all done. I wasn't not a great writer. I wrote a query for it, and I worked with an editor to rewrite one of the chapters, and it was a great rewrite. It's amazing. And I shopped it around and didn't get any hits for about 8 months. Didn't get any real attention or anything, and I just kind of put it down. I was just like, okay, well, this will come back. I just like energetically was like, okay, well, we're done with this at the moment. And this
Yes.
morning I woke up and it was like, I'm going to be opening that book up today, and I'm going to start to rework it. And it's like, that's inspired action. That's just, and what happened was I decided to be still until the right
Yes.
action, like I was still, I did my podcast, I was still, I did my workshops, I was still, and I did all these other things, because they were the right thing to do. And now, and whether or not the book is going to be my main focus or anything, I don't know, but I'm going to open it today. And that's going to be the first time I'm going to have opened it in a long time.
You know what? And you just helped me see something. And not, it was just a reminder, is that I've been working with this project of my life for over 25 years. And I've been sharing that. And somebody told me before, do all the work now. Just keep doing it. Because I kept telling her, I'm writing, I'm doing this, that, and the other. She goes, it's going to pay off. And you just said that. It was already created. So you don't have to sit down and create it now. Now you get to do the beautifying of what you really want to do. And that's helping me, just so you know. That's
I really appreciate it. If you want to land that plane, why don't you come back on? I do have Julie on the line. We're gonna jump on her if you wanted to come back on and just kind of land that. It's always the hard shift, but that's a nice reminder.
okay. You know what? And I get that. And Julie, you're just gonna have to wait. I'm only kidding. Um, no. I get what you're saying, and you and I, God, we're so in line. I get what you're saying, but the thing, if you saw what I've been working with for so long, and I didn't understand why nothing was coming together, why nothing was coming together, why nothing was coming together, and I realized, because I needed to do all the back work so that when the time came, all I get to do is beautify it into the space I'm in today, because the words were then, but they weren't the beauty of how I feel and know who I am. And I've felt who I am for years. She just didn't know how to come out.
Right.
And I think that that's you too, because we're so in line in that area. So I'm just throwing out my thing. Hopefully it encourages you. But I know you had some marinating to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think marinating is a beautiful thing. And I'm always willing to put my shit down. Like it's my idea, but I'm
Hmm.
not married to any one thing. And I don't, like I even have Transfiguration, which is a project on trans people in ministry. And I don't know how that's going to come into fruition, but I know at some point something is going to work and it's
Right.
going to be right. But I've been sitting and waiting for the right action to arise by itself.
And you know what? Thank you. I'm gonna drop down, but thank you for that, because being in this community has allowed me to feel free of who I am, and I'm going to continue doing that. But it's beautiful, and I hung out with my son yesterday, and his world is so opposite of mine indirectly, and I feel safe in his space more than I have in a
Yeah.
lot of people. So I know that it's all there. That's my whole point. So thank you. It was at the end of it. 15.
That is the end of it.
Oh, awesome. All right. So go enjoy, Julie. Thank you so much. You know I love you, and
Love you.
we'll be chatting. Talk to you soon.
All right. Talk soon. We're bringing Julie up. Julie's one of my buddies. I definitely, love it when I get to hang out with my buddies. Not that, I mean, come on, Nancy's a buddy as well. But hey,
Yeah,
Julie, how you doing,
everybody.
love?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm doing well. How's that earache?
This after the sprays worked, but and it's not quite as dead as it was because it went completely numb, and it could have been anything attached to the side of my head.
Oh
But
man.
yeah, it's good. No pain, no pain, and then
Well,
plenty of gain because it
good,
stopped me
good,
from.
good. Glad to know.
I
Glad to know.
started listening. I started listening. That's all I gotta say.
That's good. So,
um,
do we have a number today?
yes, yes, we do have a number 10.
Number 10.
Please.
Okay. Oh wow, this relates so much back to 15 that we just spoke about. So, can you coax your mind from its wandering and keep to the original oneness? Can you let the body become supple as a newborn child's? Can you cleanse your inner vision until you see nothing but the light? Can you love people and lead them without imposing your will? Can you deal with the most vital matters by letting events take their course? Can you step back from your own mind and thus understand all things? Giving birth and nourishing, having without possessing, acting with no expectation, leading and not trying to control. This is the supreme virtue.
What a superb thing. Well, number 10 is great. Number
So,
10 is my inspiration.
have you picked 10 before?
I don't know if I have because it
Yeah.
sounds similar, but I think the one that I picked was saying about being supple, but it also mentioned being hard and
Yes,
rigid.
yes,
And
yeah.
so it's very similar, but not, I don't think I've had number
Yeah,
10 before.
supple is a word that Stephen Mitchell uses a couple times. I'm not exactly
Yeah.
sure how many times it features. Um, so
It
it
kind
looks like it
of
features five.
embraces.
It features five times, and so
Yeah.
um, there are a couple references to supple. But either way, let's look at this. So I like that this is one that just starts with a whole shit ton of questions.
Yeah.
So it's all this: can you do this? Can you coax your mind from its wandering and keep to the original oneness?
Wow.
So that's interesting because what is that? What does that mean to you, coax? Like, what is the original oneness to you, and what is a wandering mind to you?
A wandering mind to me is one that meanders off to different spaces, different times, different experiences. And I think coming back to the oneness is coming back to myself without any other sort of expectations or thoughts, or so it's just being at one, so being present now, just me without the thoughts.
Yeah.
Without the dreams, without the aspirations, without the expectations, without just being, is what I would say coming back to yourself was, and
Yeah. Just being
experiencing.
here, knowing
Yeah,
that
yeah,
nothing's wrong right now. Like in this
yeah,
moment, everything is okay, and I'm present, and I don't have to. And it's wandering is the fear you have of having a conversation before you have it. The thought of, oh, I said something and that upset somebody. Now I'm worried about what they're thinking. But the
yeah.
original oneness
Analysis.
is that, yeah, the original oneness is just knowing that everything is as it is right now. Just as Nancy was saying.
Yeah,
Now we start
yeah.
talking about that suppleness again. Did you have something to finish that with?
No, no. Carry on, carry on.
No.
That's
Okay.
good.
Can you let your body become supple as a newborn child's? Now, there's interesting here because it's like, can you let your body become supple? How does that land
Yeah.
for
Well,
you?
how about permission to do so? You're giving yourself permission,
Look at
which is,
that.
yeah, yeah,
Wow. So that's interesting, right? Like we all talk about aging, and we all kind of focus on aging and all this kind of stuff and whatever. But here it's like, can you give your body permission to be supple? Can you like, I mean, I talk to people all the time that I work with, and I talk to, and like I feel like this in myself, that like youth is within grasp. Like your body is young, and it is all of the energy and all of the blocking and all of the ideas that you carry that actually, because you're carrying it, cause you to age.
yeah. Yeah, it's the rigidity of stress in the shoulders. I can see that. I can see that your thought processes will age your body
Yeah.
just because of how you are. So you hold it all into the bones, into the muscles, into the face, into, everything, the skin, everything is all about how you are living your life, how you are viewing your life, how you are thinking about your life. Whereas if you just be, like we said, without the wanderings and things, then you become really supple because you are just being. So you are relaxed and you shake off all that stuff. And that is
Yeah.
how you stay youthful. That is your youth then, you know.
And then like this leads right back into that, which says, can you cleanse your inner vision? And when we say cleanse your inner vision, and we can talk about a wandering mind, and we can talk about permitting your body to be supple. Can you cleanse your inner vision until there is nothing but the light?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we are all light, right? There is light within each and every one of us. And some of us just don't like to express that. Some of us don't have the ability, haven't learned how to keep our mind from wandering, or even think. Some people would much prefer to live in a space where it's like, no, I'm aging, and this is aging and it's bad, and I'm just going to have to accept that. And I
Yeah.
hate it, and I hate
It,
it every day, and that makes me age even more.
yeah. Yeah. It's shaking off those roles, those things that you think you should be
Those
or
things that you
could be
you you were
or would
told you
be.
are.
That's right. No one told me that I am, but I
Right.
am.
That's right.
Yes. Yes.
But we believe they have, right? We learned somewhere along the line that they have. And
Yes.
we own that. I was talking to someone the other day, and I was saying that, it's so easy. Once you onboard this idea that you learned something, you can unlearn it. But when you are taught something, you are so much more reluctant to change that idea.
Yeah, because you've adopted it. If you were
Right, you
taught
adopted it. You got
something,
it from
you
somewhere
adopt it.
else, and someone
You,
else
yeah,
is the authority.
yeah, and you take it and you own it. Then you take it and you own it with pride to a degree. What you're taught, that's what
Yeah,
you
I
do.
was on.
You
I think I
mark
I
it.
talked about that.
Yeah,
I talked about that on a Queen Bee Divine talk. I went on yesterday, and we were talking about that idea of like when you onboard something into your life, you will hold on to it, especially if it came from outside of you, which is so
Yeah.
silly.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gutted that I've missed that talk actually, Martin, because that would have been
Yeah.
a good one.
Yeah,
I
it
should
was
try and find
it
it.
was yesterday, and it was
I'll
Queen
find
Bee,
it.
so you can go into the recordings and stuff and check
I
that
will.
out.
I will do that. I will do that. Yeah. So yeah, you kind of own these things, and you know, I know from experience because we've been down a path, and you know me very well.
Mm,
I had to open my eyes and see properly. I had to take the shades off, the varying optical illusions that I'd put on through being angry or being a particular type of role in my life, instead of just being myself, you know. I
yes.
have to own that's all teaching, all learning, all of it, the whole lot. And I
And
had
then
to
and then
undo it.
see,
Yeah.
and so this is a big shift now in this next line. Can you love people and lead them without imposing your will?
Yeah. Yeah,
Such
that's
a, like, if we don't have a wandering mind, if we allow our bodies, if we can stay young, if we can keep our minds here, why do you want to impose your will on someone else?
you wouldn't, because your light would be shining, wouldn't it? So
Right.
you wouldn't have to, because it would be there for them to see if they want to see it.
And they're
It'd
going
be
to
there.
do what they want.
Yeah, they're going to do what they want. Of course they are.
And
You know, and
and
that's good.
the only, yes, that's good, even if it's not,
It's
right?
still
Even
good.
if it's something that's painful to them, that's okay. I was
Yeah,
talking to someone today who I met 6 or 7 years ago, and she lives in Chile, and she we were just talking about how much she's grown over the last 6 years, and it's like my like like just being friends with me is like, I don't want to pat myself on the back too hard, but like, being respected, like I respected her, and she was able to find respect for herself in a way that she wasn't able to, just because I had no will that I wanted to impose on her. I just wanted to love her. I just wanted to show her love the way I show everybody love.
you are very good at that too. You are very good at that,
Oh,
Martin.
well,
You
thank
are
you.
very gentle. I to a degree, without me sounding off too much, and I'm not, being like, you know, bottom cheeking here.
Yeah.
But you live by your words, and you can tell, and you do shine, and you shine a light that's gentle, not a glaring light, a gentle light into the corners. And you've assisted me personally to shine my light.
And
Without,
and you have a
not like,
beautiful light.
yeah, thank you. It's not like saying, "Oh, Martin, you are my guru. You are
No, I
so
have no
important
interest
to
in
me."
that.
Blah blah. I enjoy the love that you give, and I give it back to you because by you shining that light and living the way that you do and sharing with us that knowledge, you've enabled us to shine our own lights and be
And
strong. Yeah,
that's so much, because here, I mean, even in this, as we continue to go through it, it says, can you deal with the most vital matters by letting events take their course? Like,
yeah,
that's the thing. All of the problems in the world can be solved, I think, if people are able to see their light
yes,
for themselves, not
yeah,
getting it from somewhere else, and not being like, hey, I passed the course and now I'm certified. I don't
yes.
care. Like, you are you. You are certified you 100%. Like,
That's right. PhD in me.
that is enough.
PhD in me. Yeah, but yeah. Yeah, it is, and it's wonderful. It is such a pleasant thing to go in search of ways to find myself.
Yes.
And I've been so lucky, and like you said, when you don't realize it's there, to be able to realize that it is there is a gift
Yes.
that's shareable. So you're not going to tell someone, you're not going to lead people. You're just going to shine, and they will find their own light. They will find their own light if they want to do so, and that's all we can do. I don't think I've never been a leader type person ever. I don't. I won't ever want to be that
Well,
way.
hold your horses on that, because like here we have like, can you step back from your own mind, even that
Yeah.
thought,
Yeah.
and
Well.
thus
Yeah. The thing
understand
is,
all things,
yeah.
right? Like
It's I
you
don't
don't
know
have to understand. Like you
exactly
might be a leader, but it's going to come in a way that you might not have expected. The definition you have for leader right now might not be the type of leader that you
that
are.
I would be. Yes. Correct.
So
Absolutely. Yeah.
expanding our definitions of these things rather than closing off to whatever's outside of that is a
Yeah.
big deal. And that's
Yeah.
what this said here. Can you step back from your own mind and thus understand all
There you
things?
go. There you go. It's there to teach me. It was there.
so
There
so I
it
want you to
was.
come back up. I know I have the wonderful Kelly Swenson on hold, but I want you to come back up so we can finish this off, and it would only take another minute or two. So if Kelly
Okay.
has the time, I'd love if she can stick around. Then we go into this final section, which I'm going to read while you come back up, um, Julie. Um, Giving birth and nourishing, having without possessing, acting with no expectation, leading and not trying to control. This is the supreme virtue. So here we have this kind of grouping of things: giving birth and nourishing, having without possessing, acting with no expectation, and leading with and not trying to control. You
Yeah.
said you were not a leader, but maybe that's
Not a
because,
particular way. Yeah. Not in.
right,
Yeah.
because here it says leading and not trying to control.
Oh
This
yes.
is the supreme virtue.
I'll have to get my head around that.
Yeah. Because I mean I can't deny the fact that I'm in some way a leader, but I
Yes.
would never want to be the
Control.
kind of leader
Yeah. That's
that so
exactly it.
many gurus have taken.
Yes. That is exactly what I meant. That is
Yeah.
exactly what I meant. So yeah, there is a way of, leading without knowing you're doing it, I think would be the best way.
Yeah. And as we're on here, so many of us are able to give birth and nourish. We can
Yeah.
have without possessing. We can have conversations without having to possess them. We don't have to be right. We can express ourselves and we can act without expectation. When I come on, I don't have an expectation that anybody is going to join me. I mean, I do now, but I, but when they don't, I don't lament that. I just say, well, no one joined me today, and I post it just the way I would any other one.
Yes. Yeah, that's
And
it.
then
That's
we go into
exactly
the
it.
leading. Yeah. Oh, so that's it for 10, and such a beautiful one. And I hope that you can keep that with you today.
I will. I will. I always soak them right in. Get
Well,
in.
beautiful. And you know what? Like, we're connected on WhatsApp. Next time you're with Millie, you can always just ask her if she wants to do a Tao of the day, and I
I
can
would
I can
love.
I would love to get on a WhatsApp call with you guys and
Yeah,
and
I will
and just
do
do a
that.
Tao.
Next time I'm with her, or when I know I'm going to be with her, I will send you a message to see if you're
Yeah,
free,
and
and
we'll see
we
if we
will
can.
do that.
Yeah, we'll see if we can schedule some time to do that.
That would be absolutely amazing, and she'd love that too. Thanks
Well,
so much.
wonderful.
Take care, lovely man,
You
and
too,
I
love.
will be. You'll hear from me very shortly. I should think through another direction.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, take care. Speak to you
Ciao.
soon, and thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Kelly, if you're still there, I am bringing you up. Sometimes it doesn't work, but there you are. Are you there? Are you muted? I don't know. I cannot hear you.
Hello?
There you are.
Weird. My phone totally was freaking out right then.
Freaking
Hey,
out. Don't
it
freak
was.
out.
It was doing the weirdest things. I'm in the most an unbelievably strange neighborhood right now.
You're in a strange neighborhood. What brought you to a strange neighborhood?
I was dropping my daughter's little one off at school, and this is a part of town that I don't like. I'm like, this is a part of town where there's like a lot of more crime. And like it's like more poverty. So I never think about buying a house over here. So I've never thought about renting an apartment over here. So I've never driven in this particular neighborhood. And I'm driving by and I'm like, what am I thinking? Like, this is beautiful. It's like a really, really old neighborhood. So the trees are really big and the houses are all different and the yards are totally eclectic. And it's tucked away in with like more like shopping malls and dead like truck, things around it, like buildings that went up and then died, like
Yeah.
plazas and stuff.
Plight.
And it's just actually a beautiful, amazing little neighborhood. It's like it looks like something out of the Midwest. Like the houses are still really flat and the yards are like they have gardens in them and things I
Mm.
just did not know that we still had in little pockets of this Phoenix area. And I'm enchanted right now by this little place that I
Oh.
totally wrote off. So
Well, that's so great.
I
That is
know.
all about like having without possessing and like doing without expectation. Like
I
just be
love
present here. That's
it.
so beautiful.
I've
So
driven on this road 1,000 times. The reason I turned to, I grew up in this area, and like so, this area brings like a lot of like, oh, this time and that time because I had such a tumultuous childhood, and so that is another thing. I really believed this area just was like pain filled to me, and I
mm,
thought I should look around. Why am I thinking that while I'm driving and listening right now? And I was like, just that's all. Thanks.
that's beautiful. I'm so glad. What number do you have for me today, or for you today?
Let's go with um 36.
36. Where are you at? 36. There we go. Here's something. If you want to shrink something, you must first allow it to expand. If you want to get rid of something, you must first allow it to flourish. If you want to take something, you must first allow it to be given. This is called the subtle perception of the way things are. The soft overcomes the hard, the slow overcomes the fast. Let your workings remain a mystery. Just show the people the results. That's 36.
That's my favorite today.
It is a very nice one. I love
Yeah.
this end of like this. The way this ends is so beautiful. Like, let your workings remain a mystery. Just show the people the results. And that's something I do a lot. Like I'm quiet, and I'm like, yeah, I got this thing. I got this. I got this art career behind me that is 20 years of stuff. And like people can, and they're like, oh my god, like even
But
I
you're
know we've
actually an
expressed that.
artist? Yeah.
Yeah, like, and it was like, wait, you made like figure paintings, and you do like, yeah, no,
That
I
actually
had some
looks
chops.
real. Yeah.
Yeah,
It
it's
looks
real.
real.
It's a real thing.
Yeah.
All right, so
Um,
initial thoughts.
ambiguity is one of my favorite words. And so like that's what I think of right away at the end there too. Like just the subtlety or the ambiguity, just like your interpretation doesn't have to be mine. Like it,
Right.
today, the word of the day for me is intention. And
Mm,
I think that that's everything. And so if your intention is this, then how you receive it is your intention, not mine. Like
that's right. That's absolutely. I talk about that a lot in my workshop and other stuff like that. This concept of, like you and I are not having a experience or an experience. You're having an experience, and I'm having an experience, and they don't really have a whole lot to do with one another. I know we know we might want them. We might want to think they do, but really, like they're so different.
yeah. And
And
it's good.
Yeah, absolutely. Because now you have control of how you're experiencing it, and I have control of how I'm experiencing it, and neither of us are going to be victim to it.
And that's one of the biggest things I think. Like, I never noticed that I was controlling. People would say that I was, and I'd be like, what? Like, I'm the most chill. Like, I don't care. Like, I'll go with every flow all at the same time. But emotionally controlling is a totally
Mm.
different thing. And I absolutely want everyone to be happy and everyone to be fine. And so I don't allow people to just be upset. Like, I'm like, what can I do to fix it? Like, let me fix that. Let me solve it. Like,
Yeah.
I'll take my own happiness and push it down in order to try to make you happy. But that's now neither of us are happy because I can't control those things in you. That's up to you, like,
Yeah.
so recognizing it like in ways that like that, like your intention might need to be sad, and I need to not try to control it.
Yeah. And so I'm going to start going through this line by line. And what it starts with is, if you want something, if you want to shrink something, you must first allow it to expand. And really, so many of these are the same up at the top. But we're going to start with shrink and expanding. Do you have any experience with that? I mean, I worded that very strange, and I don't know where the wording came from, but I'm
I was
sticking with it.
pregnant a few times, that comes to mind, but
Oh.
um it's just,
So I look at this as, like, I mean,
you can't
did
be
you have,
tall if you weren't short, like you can't get big if you weren't little. Like, you have to
right.
have both sides of this, of something, in order for it to exist, I guess. But like, you have to have perspective.
I look at this also like as let's look at rebellion of a teen, you know? Like, if you try to hold a teen captive rather than allowing them to rebel, the rebellion is going to just continue, because they need to experience that rebellion. They need to expand their ability to rebel, so you can't stop it. Like, so let's say at 13, your child comes to you and there's a little rebellion in him. You're like, okay, I got to put a stop on this. And you stop it, and it just keeps wanting to grow. And you continue to have to invest energy and emotion and time into holding their rebellion down as it continues to expand. But if at 13 you roll with it and you say, hey, you're rebelling, that's cool, like, it's all good for you to do that, let's continue to have conversations about that while you're doing it, rather than trying to stop it, then they are allowed to feel like they can rebel, and immediately it starts to go away. Their desire to rebel starts to go away because you are loving them within their rebellion.
I
I have never been a parent.
know. Like, I was really trying, because I do agree that allowing, like, not getting in the way of a child to be who they are is really important to me, and it's something that I have to learn how to do, because I still have to.
You went away. Well, I don't. You probably got a call or something, and so I'm just gonna continue into the next one. I don't know how she's gonna respond to that, but I do want to hear her response. But I'm gonna go ahead and go to the next line, which states, if you want to get rid of something, you must first allow it to flourish. Same thing. Like this will relate back to the rebellion as well. If you want to get rid of someone's rebellion, if you want to change somebody, if you want to do something, you must first allow it to flourish. Go ahead.
um yeah, so I was getting a phone call, but I don't know
Yeah.
what I was saying anymore either, so that's okay. um
Yeah. We were talking about a child and raising children being who they want to be.
I think well, I mean, so they are all kind of the same here in the beginning, which is that you just
Yeah.
have to have the perspective of, you don't know life, you don't have dark, or
Right.
like, but it's more about growth than it is about, so the experience instead of the just observation.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it goes into, if you want to take something, you must first allow it to be given. Hmm.
Oh, that's tough. I
That's
thought
one
about
too.
stealing this morning. I woke up thinking about stealing.
Yeah.
And yeah, of all things. And particularly something from when I was a teenager that I did. And I was like, how can I make that right? And it's so weird. It was so out of nowhere, it felt like. And I don't quite know yet what I'll do about it. But like I so taking and giving or receiving, what was it? In order to receive, you first have in order to take.
If you want to take something, you must first allow it to be given.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if the word take is misinterpreted when they
Maybe.
translated it.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I can let me go to a different version and see what we come up with. This was 36. 36.
Because I
Here's
think
a different here's a different
yeah, I'm
translation.
hearing.
That which shrinks must first expand. That which fails must first be strong. That which is cast down must first be raised. Before receiving, there must be giving.
Okay, that makes sense for me better.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Before receiving, because you said receive, and so we're looking at the Jane English version from the 70s, I believe. So before receiving, there must be giving. This is called the perception of the nature of things. Soft and
Just
weak overcome the hard and strong. Fish cannot leave deep waters, and a country's weapons should not be on display.
hmm. So the perception of things is that literally two different translations does make it feel like it's totally two different things, even with the same intention.
Hmm. You know, I as this, like I'm going to look at these last lines together really quick. Let your workings remain a mystery. Just show the people the results. Versus fish cannot leave deep waters, and a country's weapons should not be on display. And when I talk about countries, I talk about the body, I talk about the self, I talk about the family, whatever the country is. Of course, that's the self. Don't display the inner workings. There's a lot here going back
Yeah,
and forth.
that's very interesting. I like that. I think when I think weapons, I think don't walk around with like your hackles out or your claws out or like on defense. Don't go around saying like this is what I can do or this is what I will do or
Right.
you know.
Yes. Like your weapons. Like you could use your education as a weapon, right? We've talked about that on this
Mm-hmm.
show before. This idea of like, what are you weaponizing? Your words might be weapons. Don't put them on display.
Yeah.
Let your inner workings, as the Stephen Mitchell translation states, let your inner workings remain a mystery. And I
Yeah.
wonder if
I
we
mean,
kind of combined these two. Let your inner workings be a mystery. Don't put your weapons on display.
because it's like fronting. It's like boasting almost, and it's
I love
also
that.
yeah. I mean, that's basically what I said, but
Wow.
uh,
Yeah, these get a little more. These get the. I think if I start kind of allowing too much of this kind of looking at two different translations too often, I'm going to need to put on more time than 15 minutes. But I love that we got an opportunity to do that because this really kind of puts this one into a different perspective. And I love that we did find the word that you resonate with. Before receiving, there must be giving.
yeah. Thank you. Thanks for having the second version on hand.
Absolutely. Well, I had them on hand. So, and our buddy John bought the Jane English version, which is what
Oh, he
kind of
did. Huh.
yeah. That's why I kind of have both of those open, or I go to that because I also like this other one, Isabel Mears, but that one's from like 1916, and it's real esoteric.
Mm.
So,
Oh, is it? I'll
yeah,
have to look at that too. I
yeah.
I wonder the one that you have is it a male's interpretation or translation?
Oh, you just broke. You just ended. So come on back up so we can chat. So yes, the one that I tend to use, Kelly, and I know you're not going to hear something because as you're coming on. So the one that I tend to use is Stephen Mitchell. And the reason I like
Perfect.
Stephen Mitchell is because Stephen Mitchell does not switches between masculine and feminine verbiage within the Tao because
I've
in
heard that. Yeah.
yeah, and like Jane English and everybody else, most other translations. I don't know any other translation. Jane English definitely uses the he pronoun everywhere, where Stephen Mitchell, I believe, references she and her much more often than the he pronoun for the Tao, even though the Tao talks about itself as the great mother. But when it talks about the master does X, Y, Z, he does this. But Stephen Mitchell brings in the she does this, her ability, her thing, and that's the thing. That's kind of the
Yeah.
reason that I lean on Stephen Mitchell.
And that makes a lot of sense. And I wonder, would you think it like what comes up? The first thing that comes up for you if I when I say would you ever consider like creating your own translation? How does that feel inside? I'm curious.
I have,
You have.
yeah. Like I have been looking at different translations and stuff and compiling my own for years. Whether or not I don't know that that's anything like I don't know that I am currently in a place where I can contribute anything more than has already been contributed. So I don't pursue it as a thing. I just do this. I don't pursue it as an end. I I do what's most important to me, and that's connect, and I connect over the Tao.
Hmm. Okay, that's all.
So, okay. I quietly go about my business. Let your inner workings remain a mystery. Just show the people the results. And these are the results of me having done that.
Yeah, that that's that. Yeah, I mean, there's just nothing else to put there.
What
It'll
was
be
that?
fun. It'll be fun to. Sorry. It'd be fun to make one. I think, but I think I want to go to like the very most original text and then really truly understand the languages over time
Oh
without get
yes,
so
no, I,
scholarly with it. You know what
I,
I mean?
I, I don't, that is not my, that's not,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't have interest in learning ancient Mandarin, right? And then
Right.
getting access to the original text. Although the original text is online, and I can use Google Translate as well as, and that's what I did. Like for some of, I should say I didn't translate the whole thing. I've translated different ones, because I would do Tao of the Day for myself, and then I would, spend some time. I would get the original translation, which is here on Terabis. And if I haven't given you the link to this, you let me know and I'll send it to you. Um, and then I've looked at multiple English translations on top of that and said, oh, this is what it's saying. Let's break this down into a different way of understanding it. Right? Stephen Mitchell, for me, expresses things. Most of these that I have read of Stephen Mitchell's express the verses in the most modern, contemporary, accessible way. I think Jane English, of course, does a great job. And as I mentioned, Isabel Mears, and there's a number of other ones that are on here as well that you can have access to and just kind of get different interpretations.
Mm.
But I think both Jane English and Stephen Mitchell utilize the original text, so and other translations as well.
Interesting. Be something to
So
think about. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. It's always great to have you on. I appreciate it. And we'll be in touch.
Yes, sorry. Bye-bye.
Oh, all my buddies today, Catherine and Nancy and Julie and Kelly, you're all so wonderful. And like just having said that, I would love if not that I don't get men on here, I do, but no men have been like regulars. So I know D Grant has come on probably a handful of times, which is great. And I think of there have been other folks, but a lot of times the men don't come back as much. But hopefully that changes in time. I mean, I guess I'm a man, so good enough. But yeah, I love you guys. I appreciate it. I hope I expressed everything that I needed to express out of 23. I'm going to go back to it really briefly and see if there is anything at the end there that I can open yourself to the Tao, then trust in your natural responses, and everything will fall into place. Is that right? Yeah, express yourself completely, then keep quiet. Open yourself to the Tao, then trust your natural responses. See, this is, yeah, I definitely glad that I came back here. So open yourself to the Tao. Once you are open to the Tao, like we've talked today about the Tao being forgotten, we've talked about all of these different things. And now if you can open yourself to the Tao, then you can trust your natural response, which means if you trust your natural response, you're expressing yourself completely. Everything will fall into place. When you're done expressing yourself, keep quiet. I love bringing the first line and the last lines back together because it's really great to be able to express that, to be able to see how they relate. And if you heard today's DAOs and are in line, make sure we're bringing it all back around. And if you have any questions, if you have any thoughts, if you have any insight into what we're talking about, definitely reach out to me on Instagram, reach out to me anywhere that you can find me. My website, I do workshops, I host, I work with clients. I work with a limited number of clients one-on-one every month, and we only work together for 4 sessions, and those sessions are intense. And as I mentioned earlier, it's all about interpersonal, like intrapersonal, like the different parts of you, resolving conflict within different parts of yourself, the conflict that you have within your own body, within your own mind, the conflicts that exist in your life. The work that I do is to resolve those conflicts with you. And then you can open up and be yourself so much more. Thank you so much. I appreciate each and every one of you. If anybody wants to write a review for the things that I do, or if anybody's out there and wants to just write a testimonial for me and my work, I would love to send you a link to write a testimonial. There is a link on my link tree, which is linktr.ee/Martin John, I believe. You can find that on my Instagram and leave me a review and testimonial if you are so inclined. Otherwise, I am Martin John. I host the Recover Yourself podcast and all things Recover Yourself, and like workshops and one-on-one work, as well as, and I'm going to be writing this book that I decided I'm going to revisit today. It's a full book now. I just get to either rewrite it completely or just start tinkering away at it. We'll see. But I leave that up to the Tao. Okay, so thank you all for joining me, and until next time, keep recovering yourself.